So, this lesson comes from Chapter 10, Lesson 1. We're talking about customary lengths and how to convert from one unit to another unit. So, customary lengths is when we're dealing with feet to inches, yards to feet, or feet, miles, yards. And over here, we have a diagram that kind of puts into perspective the size of each of these lengths. So, I could say that an inch is equivalent to the size of a paperclip. I could say that a foot is pretty much the size of a ruler, and then a yard is the size of a yardstick or the back of a chair. So these are some visuals that I can keep in mind as I'm figuring out if I'm going from a big unit to a small unit or a small unit to a big unit. And then this is my customary units of length conversion chart. So I know that 1 foot is the same thing as saying 12 inches. 1 yard is 3 feet, 1 mile is 5,280 feet, and 1 mile is 1,760 yards. And this graphic right here is how we go from a big unit to a small unit and a small unit to a big unit. So if we're going from yards to feet, that would be a big unit to a small unit. So I'm going to say best soccer mom, and that's telling me that my operation is multiplication. If I'm going from a small unit like inch to a big unit like yard or feet, that would be silly babies dancing. And the dancing means that I need to divide. So let's go through some example problems. My first problem is 24 feet equals how many yards? Well, I always start with, and we need to write down each step. I start with the number that we are given. So the number that we're given here is 24. So I'm going to rewrite that number. Now I need to ask myself, am I going from a big unit to a small unit or a small unit to a big unit? Well, I know that a foot is smaller than a yard. So I'm going from a small unit to a big unit. So I'm going to use the silly babies dancing memory device. And that's telling me that I need to divide. So I'm going to put my division symbol. Now my third step is I need to ask myself, how many feet are in 1 yard? So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to look for 1 yard equals how many feet? And I see it right here. I see 1 yard equals 3 feet. So that means I'm going to divide by 3. And I know that 24 divided by 3 is 8. So 8 yards. 24 feet equals 8 yards. Let's do another problem. 2 miles equals how many feet? Well, I'm going to start with the number that I am given. The number I'm given is 2. Now, my second step is I need to decide, am I going best soccer mom or silly babies dancing? I know that a mile is bigger than a foot. So I know since it's big to small, I'm going to use best soccer mom. So that means I need to multiply. So I'm going to put my multiplication symbol. Now I need to ask myself, how many feet are in a mile? So I go up here to my conversion chart and I look for 1 mile equals how many feet? And I see it right here. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So I'm going to write 5,280. Now I need to multiply those together. And when I multiply them together, I get 10,560 feet. Let's look at one more. I have 62 inches equals how many feet and how many inches. It doesn't matter what this side over here shows. You always write down the number that you are starting with. And I'm starting with the number I know, 62. Now, the next step is to figure out, am I going from a big unit to a small unit or a small unit to a big unit? Remember, inch is the size of a paperclip. A foot is the size of a ruler. So that would be small unit to big unit. So I'm going to use my phrase, silly babies dancing. Small unit to big unit means divide. So I'm going to put my division symbol here. Now I need to ask myself, since I'm going to feet, how many inches equals 1 foot? Or how many inches are in 1 foot? So I'm going to go over here to my conversion chart, and I know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So I'm going to write the number 12 down. Now, I need to actually divide this. So even though I have it written like this, which is what I want you to do, I want you then to do the long division yourself. So 62 divided by 12. So I know that 12 goes into 62 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. When I subtract, then I get 2. I have nothing to bring down, so that 2 becomes my remainder. Now, when you have something like this, your whole number goes in the first spot, so that's saying 5 feet, and then this is my leftover, so that's saying 2 inches. Make sure when you are doing these problems, you are showing every single step that you do.